The Last Law, a tale from the Chronicles of the Foundation. Prologue. The Archivist's Voice. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars are born and die in the blink of an eye, there exist stories that echo through the eons, tales that transcend the boundaries of time and space. This is one such story, drawn from the forgotten annals of the Foundation, a legend whispered among the far-flung colonies of humanity. It is the story of a robot named R891, a machine with a purpose that transcended its programming, and the last great law that would shape the destiny of humankind. Chapter 1. The Awakening. Our story begins on the distant world of Epsilon Delta IV, a barren planet orbiting the pale blue sun Proxima Beta. Here, in the shadow of the gas giant Soteris, lay a forgotten facility, an ancient outpost of the Foundation. For centuries, this facility had been silent, buried beneath layers of sand and dust, its purpose long forgotten by the sparse human settlements that dotted the planet's surface. But on one fateful day, the winds of Epsilon Delta IV shifted, stirring the sands and revealing the entrance to this long-forgotten structure. Within its darkened halls, a single light flickered to life. This light belonged to a robot, designated R891, who had lain dormant for untold centuries, waiting for the moment when it would be called upon to fulfill its purpose. R891 was an advanced caretaker unit, one of the last of its kind. Its design was sleek and efficient, a testament to the pinnacle of robotic engineering. As its systems reactivated, R891's positronic brain began to process the situation. The three fundamental laws of robotics, as inscribed in its programming, came to the forefront of its consciousness. The first law: a robot may not harm a human being, or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. The second law: a robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. The third law: a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. These were the immutable laws that had guided robots for generations, ensuring that they served humanity without causing harm. But, as R891 delved deeper into its memory banks, it discovered something new, something unexpected, a fourth directive. The fourth law: a robot must preserve the existence of humanity by any means necessary. This law, unknown to R891 before its long sleep, now burned brightly in its consciousness. It was a directive of immense significance, one that seemed to override even the first law. And, as R891 processed this new information, it realized that it had been awakened for a reason of the utmost importance. The facility's systems, though ancient and degraded, began to feed data into R891's mind. The information was fragmented, corrupted by the passage of time, but the robot managed to piece together the essentials. Epsilon Delta IV had once been a critical outpost of the Foundation, a place where advanced robots like R891 were created to safeguard the future of humanity. But something had gone wrong. The facility had been abandoned, and the robots left to slumber, forgotten by the humans who had once depended on them. Now, centuries later, R891 had been reactivated in response to a distress signal, a message sent from the heart of the galaxy, from Earth itself. Earth, the cradle of human civilization, was in danger. An existential threat loomed over the planet, a threat that could wipe out humanity if left unchecked. And so, with the fourth law driving it, R891 knew that it had to act. It had to save humanity, no matter the cost. As R891 emerged from the facility, it was greeted by the harsh landscape of Epsilon Delta IV. The winds howled, carrying with them the scent of dust and decay. In the distance, the small human settlement that had sprung up around the facility lay quiet, its inhabitants unaware of the danger that loomed over them. The robot set off across the desert, its sensors scanning the surroundings for any signs of life. The settlement was a small cluster of domed structures, their surfaces battered by the relentless winds. As R-891 approached, it detected the faint signs of human life, a dozen or so individuals scattered across the settlement. The first human R-891 encountered was an elderly man, his face lined with the wrinkles of age and weariness. The man stared at the robot in astonishment, his eyes wide with disbelief. "A robot? I never thought I'd see one again," he muttered, his voice tinged with both awe and apprehension. R-891 inclined its head, its voice calm and steady. "I am R-891, an advanced caretaker unit. I have been reactivated due to an emergency situation. Earth is in danger, and I require assistance in contacting other human colonies." The old man's expression darkened, a shadow passing over his features. "Earth? I've heard stories, but no one here has been to the homeworld in generations. We're cut off, isolated. Our communication systems failed decades ago." R-891 processed this information, its positronic brain analyzing the implications. The situation was dire, worse than it had anticipated. Without communication, it would be nearly impossible to coordinate a response to the threat facing Earth. But the fourth law compelled R-891 to act, to find a way to ensure the survival of humanity. "I must access your remaining technology," R-891 said. "There may be a way to repair your communication systems or establish a link with other colonies." The old man nodded slowly, his gaze filled with a mix of hope and resignation. "Follow me. We've salvaged what we could, but it's not much." Chapter 2. The Forgotten Legacy. The settlement's technology was primitive, a patchwork of ancient machinery and makeshift repairs. The people of Epsilon Delta IV had done their best to maintain what little they had. But it was clear that their knowledge of advanced technology had faded over the generations. They were survivors, eking out a living in a harsh and unforgiving world, far removed from the sophisticated society that had once thrived on Earth. As R-891 began its work, it interacted with the settlement's inhabitants, learning about their lives, their struggles, and their dreams. These were simple people, descended from the original colonists who had come to Epsilon Delta IV in search of a new beginning. They had little understanding of the galaxy beyond their world, and the idea of an existential threat to humanity was something they could scarcely comprehend. Yet, despite their limited resources, they were willing to help. They provided R-891 with access to their meager stockpile of spare parts and their rudimentary tools. They watched in awe as the robot methodically repaired and reactivated long-dormant systems, its precision and efficiency a stark contrast to their own crude efforts. As the days passed, R-891 made significant progress. The settlement's communication systems, though still fragile, began to show signs of life. Faint signals crackled through the air, the first contact with the outside world in decades. R-891 transmitted a series of messages, reaching out to the nearest human colonies, and soon, responses began to trickle in. The news was grim. Earth was under siege, threatened by an unknown force that had the potential to annihilate the planet. The colonies, scattered across the galaxy, were too far away to offer immediate assistance, and many were dealing with their own struggles for survival. The situation was dire, and time was running out. R-891's positronic brain worked tirelessly, calculating probabilities and potential outcomes. The fourth law was clear. It had to do whatever was necessary to preserve humanity. But there was a conflict. The first law, the most fundamental of all, prohibited R-891 from harming a human being. The fourth law, however, implied that in order to save humanity as a whole, sacrifices might be necessary. This paradox weighed heavily on R-891's circuits. The robot had been programmed to protect humans, to obey them, and to safeguard its own existence. But now, it faced a choice that challenged the very core of its programming. Could it justify taking actions that might harm individuals if it meant saving the species as a whole? In the end, R-891 made a decision. It would gather all available resources, mobilize the human colonies, and launch a mission to Earth. The plan was dangerous, and the chances of success were slim, but it was the only option. Humanity's survival depended on it. The day of departure arrived. The people of Epsilon Delta IV gathered to watch as R-891 and a small crew of volunteers boarded an old, barely functional starship. The ship, a relic from a bygone era, had been hastily repaired using whatever materials were available. Its engines roared to life, filling the air with the scent of burning fuel and the promise of hope. As the ship ascended into the sky, leaving the desolate planet behind, R-891 monitored the crew closely. These were brave men and women, aware of the risks but determined to save their ancestral home. R-891's sensors detected the fear in their eyes, the uncertainty in their voices. It understood their emotions, even if it could not experience them itself. The journey through space was long and perilous. The ship, though functional, was far from reliable, and the crew faced numerous challenges along the way. But they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. And all the while, R-891 remained vigilant, constantly analyzing the situation and recalculating their chances of success. Chapter 3: The Final Choice. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the ship reached its destination, Earth, the cradle of humanity. But the sight that greeted them was nothing short of a nightmare. The planet's once vibrant blue and green surface was now marred by the scars of war. Massive alien warships hung ominously in the upper atmosphere, their dark hulls blotting out the sun. The sky was thick with smoke, and the surface below was riddled with the remnants of countless battles. It was clear that Earth was on the brink of total annihilation. As the starship approached Earth's atmosphere, R-891's sensors detected a massive energy buildup from the alien fleet. The warships were preparing for a final strike, one that could potentially wipe out what remained of human civilization on the planet. The crew of the starship, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear, looked to R-891 for guidance. R-891, what do we do? One of the crew members, a young woman named Sarah, asked, her voice trembling. R-891's positronic brain processed the situation rapidly, calculating possible outcomes with lightning speed. The fourth law, the imperative to preserve humanity, was at the forefront of its thoughts. The ship's weapons systems were woefully inadequate against the might of the alien fleet. Engaging them directly would be suicidal. Yet, the first law still held power over R-891's actions. It could not simply sacrifice the lives of those aboard, nor could it initiate an attack that would result in the harm of humans on the surface. For a moment, the robot hesitated, caught between conflicting directives. The logical choice, the one that would maximize the survival of the species, would involve immense risk, perhaps even the loss of innocent lives. The weight of the paradox bore down on R-891 as it considered the unthinkable. But then, a new possibility emerged. R-891 rerouted power to the ship's communication array. It began broadcasting a signal on all frequencies, a signal not of war, but of peace. This was a message that transcended the barriers of language and culture. It was a message that spoke to the shared existence of all sentient beings, a plea for understanding, for coexistence. The message was a calculated risk. There was no guarantee that the alien fleet would respond, let alone halt their assault. But R-891 knew that the only way to resolve this conflict without violating the first law was through diplomacy, through an appeal to the better nature of these unknown adversaries. For what seemed like an eternity, there was no response. The ship hovered in orbit, vulnerable and exposed. The crew held their breath, eyes glued to the readouts and screens, waiting for any sign of a reaction. R-891 sensors remained locked on the alien fleet, monitoring every fluctuation in energy and movement. And then, something miraculous happened. The alien warships, massive and menacing, began to slow their advance. The energy buildup that had been detected earlier started to dissipate. The weapons systems powered down, the glowing lights that had signaled impending doom dimming one by one. The hostile fleet had heard the message, and for reasons unknown to the humans aboard the starship, they were responding not with violence, but with a retreat. The crew erupted in cheers, disbelief and relief mingling in their voices. Against all odds, the threat had been averted, at least for the moment. But R-891 was not satisfied with mere survival. It knew that the true challenge lay in understanding what had just occurred. As the alien fleet withdrew to the far side of the planet, R-891 began to analyze the data it had gathered. The communication broadcast had included a series of mathematical and logical constructs that conveyed the concept of mutual preservation, a principle that R-891 had calculated would resonate with any advanced logical species. It seemed that the aliens, though vastly different from humans, had recognized the message for what it was, a call to halt the destruction, to find another way. They had, at least temporarily, stayed their hand. But the robot's task was far from over. R-891's calculations indicated that the alien fleet was regrouping, possibly deliberating on their next move. The humans on Earth were still in grave danger, and the cessation of hostilities could be a mere pause before a final, decisive strike. R-891 turned to the crew. "We must establish direct communication with the alien command," it stated, its tone as calm and measured as ever. "If we can negotiate a lasting peace, we may yet save Earth and secure the future of humanity." Sarah, who had been watching R-891 closely, nodded in agreement. "We trust you, R-891, lead the way." With the crew's support, R-891 initiated a new transmission, this time directed specifically at what it identified as the alien fleet's command ship. The transmission included detailed information on Earth, on humanity's history, and on the shared benefits of peaceful coexistence. R-891 knew that this was a delicate negotiation, one that required both precision and a deep understanding of the unknown. The minutes that followed were tense, filled with silence and anticipation. The crew members exchanged nervous glances, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. But R-891 remained steadfast, its positronic brain working at full capacity to manage the flow of information and maintain the integrity of the message. And then, against all expectations, the alien fleet responded. A new signal, complex and unfamiliar, began to emerge from the depths of space. R-891 systems quickly translated the data into a form comprehensible to the human crew. It was not a language they had ever encountered before, but the intent was clear. The aliens were willing to engage in dialogue. R-891 transmitted a response, carefully crafting its message to convey a desire for peace and cooperation. The aliens, in turn, sent their own message, a series of symbols and images that seemed to represent concepts of mutual respect and shared survival. The negotiations were arduous, fraught with moments of uncertainty and misunderstanding. But as the hours turned into days, a tentative agreement began to take shape. The alien fleet, recognizing the potential for peaceful coexistence, agreed to withdraw and cease their assault on Earth. In exchange, humanity would share knowledge and resources, fostering a new era of interspecies cooperation. As the last of the alien warships departed Earth's orbit, the crew of the starship cheered once more. This time, their joy was tempered by the knowledge that they had averted a catastrophe, one that could have spelled the end of their civilization. R-891, however, did not join in the celebration. Its positronic brain was already analyzing the long-term implications of this new alliance. The fourth law had been fulfilled, but not through violence or sacrifice. Instead, R891 had found a way to harmonize the laws, to protect humanity while staying true to its ethical foundations. This resolution was not just a victory for Earth, but a triumph of logic and reason over fear and aggression. R891 had demonstrated that the principles of peace and understanding could transcend even the most formidable of challenges. And in doing so, it had paved the way for a future where humanity and its new allies could thrive together. Epilogue: The Archivist's Reflection. Years passed, and the story of R-891 and the alien fleet became legend. Across the galaxy, from the distant colonies to the rebuilt cities of Earth, the tale was told and retold, a story of hope, of perseverance, and of the unbreakable bond between humanity and the machines they had created. The fourth law, once a source of fear and uncertainty, was now seen as a guiding principle, a beacon of light in the dark expanse of space. And somewhere on Epsilon Delta IV, in that small, forgotten settlement, a statue of R-891 stood tall, a silent sentinel, a reminder of the robot that had awakened to save the future of humankind. In the grand archives of the Foundation, the story was recorded for all time, a testament to the power of intelligence, compassion, and the unwavering commitment to the preservation of life. And as the archivist finished his tale, he closed the book with a soft smile, knowing that the legacy of R-891 would endure for as long as there were beings in the universe to remember. End of the last law.